Welcome back to the channel, everybody. And this time I want to show you the ugly bat that I bought off Mcfarlane. I bought it by mistake thinking it was in better shape. However, it worked out really well because now I can show you this in the video. It's got an ugly cape. Somebody cut off the leg and then glued it back on. And they did a really bad job removing the original cape. Now, for some reason, people still think that you should glue the wire to the cape itself. And that is just not the case. That's why this cape is so bad. Not only does it fray on the edges, but look at the bad removal of the cape. In any case, let's get started and let me show you a little bit before and after. Now, this is after I've cleaned it up. And I've plugged in that hole with resin, UV resin. I sanded down the areas, I removed the emblem because I do want to replace it with a different one. Now, in any of these, you do have to keep in mind that if you're going to change the color, you do have to sand it down, especially the joints. Now, you take a look on the right-hand side, I have darkened the grays just a little bit more because I wanted some shading. And I have painted to match all of those gaps and holes that were left from that cape removal and the emblem. Now, I had to paint the blues a different color because I don't have a matching color material. So I went just a little bit darker. And the reason is because it now matches that pleather that I want to use. And I went ahead and added a few more coats of gray in different tones. And yes, I sanded down the ankles and the wrist and of course the knees. And yeah, that leg gave me some trouble because it was, well, glued on. So I had to grind down the evidence of it being glued on. Now, let's go into head swaps. And this is what we want to see with this figure. You'll see that this base body, Mcfarlane is going to use time and time again because all of these sculpts look really well. Now keep in mind that not all of these sculpts are actually fitted to the neck and the peg. Some of them sit a little high, some of them sit correctly, but you still don't know which one I'm going to choose. Well, if you saw the thumbnail, you probably already do. But let's take a look. let's talk about the cape. And keep in mind that this is not a cape making video, so you won't see everything on the cape. I've made this cape by ironing on the edge with a double iron-on tape. I didn't glue it, I didn't sew it, it's just using iron. And no, you do not glue the wire to the edge of the fabric because that's going to cause it to bind and kink as you bend it. And it's just not going to look as good as a loose fitting fabric over the wire because it'll make it look like a more natural drape as it falls. Now, the logo. You can choose any emblem you want. I have cut mine on a Cricut cutter and I've shown you that before. So you choose which one you want, particularly one you don't have. In this case, I don't have a sculpt on a Batman like this. I don't have this particular body mold with a emblem like the one I'm about to show you. So you can choose the larger, the small, the colorful, or the non-colorful, and you decide what your bat is gonna look like. It's your project, it's nobody else's. You're the one who's gonna look at it on the shelf. Now, once you've decided, you can then attach it. Well, this one's a little big, maybe on a bigger body. But this just shows you the versatility of this base body. You can make any particular figure you want, or character I should say. Now let's look at it with the full cape. Just give it a little turnaround with the sculpt. And yeah, the wire does make a difference, but it's not all about wires. If you cut that cape correctly, you can make it drape really well. And some figures really are just meant for a museum pose, kind of like this one, because it's got a lot of work on it. And besides, I had to fix things that people took off and glued back on. Now, once you add your emblem on, it takes on a whole different persona. And yes, that cape looks so much better. And I did cut around that collar to glue in the cape under the collar. It is not sitting on top. And that's a mistake that most people make on their Batmans. Each figure has a different cape mount. You can't expect a generic cape to fit on all of them. You have to cut the cape according to the figure you're working on. And you may have to, well, modify the neck like you do on this one for the cape to fit correctly. That's all up to you. If you're okay with just gluing it on top, yeah, go ahead. It's not going to look great. It's going to look okay. You want it to look great. This is the time you invested in it. We'll see you next time.